Thank you for your presence today. My name is Spyros Argyrakos and I'm Head of Development at 24 Media. To begin with, this is our first attempt to exchange ideas and to be familiar with new technologies because at the end of the day, the most important things are learning new technologies and engaging with people that share common interests. Our daily routine does not promote socialization, so this kind of events can give us the chance to become better and to hear about technologies that maybe can change our stack and take us a step further. In addition, this meetup today is something that we as a team are very proud of because we put a lot of effort and time so that the result would be equivalent to your expectations and time well spent from all of you. I would like to thank Fotis, Paul, Konstantinos, Orestis and Dimitris that made this event possible. And also I would like to thank 24 Media that supported our first attempt. After my Oscar award-winning speech, I would like now to give the microphone to my colleague Fotis so that we would start watching the things that we really came here today.
Thank you, Spyros. Hello, everyone. I am Fotis Vasilopoulos, content team lead at 24 Media. Today we will introduce an upcoming headless CMS called Strapi. We, as a front-end team, are developing mostly in JavaScript, so we wanted to get involved in Node.js and add it to our technology. In a project that required a headless CMS, we gave Strapi a try, and it was totally worth it. We got impressed with the demos, in-depth documentation, and the active, well-moderated and friendly community. So, as a result, we started engaging with it. Immediately, we figured out that the development process was really smooth and the project was completed in less than 40 hours of development, including research time, reading documentations, etc. As you all understand, the dev communities are the cornerstones of our field of profession. As a result of the excellent engagement with Strapi's community, we wanted to promote it here in Greece. I want now to introduce you to our keynote speaker for the event, developer advocate at Strapi. Paul, the stage is yours.
Hey, thanks everyone. Welcome and thank you so much for the team at 24 Media for creating this event. I'm so excited to be here. And I really like what you said there about sharing the knowledge and learning because that's what open source is for. And I was actually really impressed with the 40-hour timeline that you had to complete a project from start to finish, and you were able to do it by relying on Strapi as a CMS or headless CMS in general. But my name is Paul. I do work at Strapi, so some people will say I'm probably biased to loving Strapi, but let me just say that I loved and fell in love with Strapi first before I started working there. So today I want to share with you how I got started with Strapi and how it could fit in your tech stack. So I'm going to share my slide here. So by the way, if I didn't introduce myself, my name is Paul, and I want to make a case for headless CMS and specifically for Strapi. And on today's agenda, what we're going to cover, we're going to talk about what is a headless CMS, when you should use one, what is Strapi and why. We're going to take a look at some Strapi case studies, and then we're going to go over some projects and possibly get time, hopefully, for sure we will, get started with Strapi. So before moving on, here's a little bit about me. I have two black cats. As you can see, one of them is always angry because he loves PHP. I mean, I'm only kidding. But I switched careers to web development late in my 30s. I've been loving it ever since. I love everything React and headless CMS, specifically if it's all included in the JavaScript ecosystem. So why do I love headless CMS so much? So let me start with a quick story to tell you how I got started with Strapi. I'm a big believer of don't try to reinvent the wheel. If something exists that will save you 10,000 hours of development time, why not use it? And so I really love this quote by Paul. He said, the things you're doing, no matter how seemingly unique, have been done before. Take advantage and perhaps expand upon the preceding work that is there for you. And so as a front-end developer at my prior company, here's the issue they had. They had a team of Python developers, and they were really preoccupied in one application that they were building that was generating income. And the CEO of the company at the time, he's like, I can't take away my Python developers to try this new idea we have. And I was working there at the time as a React front-end developer. So what I did, I said, let me build a POC with Strapi for you, and we could see if this is something that you want to do. So because of my front-end skills and help of Strapi, I was able to build a POC really fast, which allowed us to present the idea to the board and get an okay, where they approved the MVP. And so I used the power Strapi and React on the front end to build a minimal viable product that we were able to bring to market. And at that point, when we had proof of concept, we had the MVP, the team went all in, and we actually hired more developers to support the project. And the hiring process was actually easy in the sense that we were all looking for JavaScript developers, because our stack from front end to back end, React, JavaScript, our back end Strapi using Node, JavaScript, it made perfect sense. So what is a headless CMS? Or what is a content management system? CMS allows you to manage all aspects of your digital content. It goes from creation, distribution, to storage and modification. It allows non-technical people, such as content managers or business owners, to manage and modify content without requiring much technical knowledge. This is also awesome because you have a place for your non-technical team to start adding content while your developing team could continue creating those features and implementing, so you could work together in parallel. But let's talk about traditional versus headless CMS first before we get too far. Headless CMS, of course, wins. But I'm just kidding, because there's still places where using a traditional CMS like WordPress makes sense. But let's take a look at what a traditional CMS is. It is all-in-one, coupled in a monolithic code base. That means your front end and your back end, they're tied together, and there's no way to decouple them. You have to use one without the other. So if you're going with something like WordPress, your front end is tied to their ecosystem. And not only do you need to know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but you also have to have PHP and WordPress specific knowledge. Of course, you can use WordPress as an API, but it's not specifically built for that purpose. And like I mentioned, you need to be familiar with PHP and additional skills that are required to make it work. And so here's my big sell here. And it almost doesn't matter what this graph says. Everybody knows JavaScript if you're working in any capacity as a front end. So sticking with JavaScript makes hiring and onboarding new developers for our projects more accessible. It's one of the most popular languages. And if you could have the same developers working on the front end and the back end because you're only using one language, to me, that makes perfect sense. So what is a headless CMS? So a headless CMS is where the content repository is decoupled from the presentation layer. It allows you to manage your content in one place, but to deploy across multiple front ends that you choose, including mobile application. So you can have one headless CMS that you're able to push content to your website, to your mobile app, or any other avenue that you would like. And that makes using a headless CMS really flexible. So benefits of a headless CMS. Content can be served on any device, published anywhere, which is amazing flexibility that using a monolithic CMS like WordPress just doesn't get you. It allows content editors and developers to work in parallel, like I mentioned. So you could set up your Strapi instance, and right away, your editors could start creating content and organizing how you want to present that content, while developers could work in parallel. Also, like I said, I'm a big believer of not reinventing the wheel. So Strapi, it took a team of many, many people, over 10,000 hours to develop it. So it's open source, it's free for you, so why not use it? It will decrease development time, which means faster time to the market, which is super important. You know, as developers, we just want to work on features, create cool stuff, but as owners of companies, we want a product that our customers can use. And you know, we want to deploy and deliver as quickly as possible. And this is something that Headless CMS like Strapi allows. It also doesn't care about what front end you use, right? If you like Vue.js, fantastic. If you like React, Remix, Next.js, you have all those options available for you. And what's awesome, because it's based on Node, you could integrate it with a lot of third-party services, not just by creating your own implementations, but we have plugins, we have custom fields that we'll talk a little bit more about it. And it allows increased usability and scalability. And like I said before, it makes it easy for non-tech people to manage content through the admin panel that the Headless CMS provides. So when should you use one, right? That's the $1 million question. So a use case for a Headless CMS, when you have a lot of content, it could be posts, products, listing, etc. Content is managed or needed to be updated or edited by many people. So if you have a lot of content and you have a team of editors or writers and they have to engage with that content, using a Headless CMS is the right opportunity. Another reason, if you might be working on a smaller team and you don't have resources to create a custom solution based on, you know, your budget, your team size, or just the time to market. Or you need to prototype really fast to test out your idea, make sure that it works. And also, if your team mainly consists of front-end developers, like in my previous example, I said how as a front-end developer, I was able to, with the power of Strapi and my React understanding, build a prototype and then a minimal viable product without having to be a full stack developer, which was amazing. And most importantly, if you need your content to be accessed by multiple sources, because you basically are having an API to which you could make requests from your website, from your mobile device, or from whatever avenue you decide. And when was Strapi born? Strapi was created by Pierre, Jim, and Arlene in 2015 to deal with their frustration of limits of traditional CMS and inability to deliver content anywhere. You know, they started Strapi while they were still in college, and they were trying to keep the bills paid before the company took off by creating WordPress themes and websites. And that's where the idea came. It's like, look, we need a better solution, and this is where birth of Strapi took place. So what is Strapi specifically? It's an open source project. It's community driven, and we have amazing community on GitHub, on Discord, and it's the #1 pillar of everything that we do. It is highly customizable because Strapi is literally based on Node.js. Not only do you have places to hook in to, able to extend controller services, add additional middleware policies. We also have a marketplace where you could get plugins to extend the functionality of your Strapi application, providers, and custom fields. And more importantly, if a functionality doesn't exist, you can create it yourself via plugin or make changes within the code because it's all based on Node.js. We offer both REST and GraphQL. And the superpower of Strapi, I can't stress this enough, it allows for faster development. Like you mentioned earlier, you took 40 hours to go from idea to finished project. And I think that's the power of Strapi, is the ability to go to market faster and the flexibility of being able to use any framework of your choice, deliver content on any device, and can be self-hosted. And we're also working on our cloud offering. And a lot of people say, well, I just want to have everything in the cloud, and we'll have that option for you. But there are certain companies that want to be in control of their data, and they want to make sure that they self-host their projects, and we have that option available. And when Strapi Cloud comes out, will be really, really awesome because you get fully hosted and managed instance of Strapi. You create a new project that you deploy from your GitHub, you scale as you grow, and it will give people who are not really particularly good at DevOps or haven't really have the experience of deploying their project themselves, quick and easy way to deploy their Strapi instance, which will allow for automatic backups and multi-database support, which is something we're looking forward to. And as we get more details, I'll definitely let you know. And the best part about Strapi is because it allows you to use a lot of different providers that hook into the application. For instance, you can have the database that we support. We support SQLite, MySQL, PostgreSQL, MariaDB. Also, you see these additional providers that we have. You could use a Cloudinary provider to host your images, and you could implement Shopify via custom field. So amazing flexibility. And as you could see, we support a lot of great front-end frameworks for you to build your project. We have Gatsby, Angular, Nuxt, Next.js, React, Vue, Ionic, and my new favorite is Remix. Have to throw it in there. And so you're probably wondering, what are providers? Providers allow you to use or extend third-party services such as SendGrid, email, or Cloudinary image hosting in your application. You can actually find more providers on our Strapi Marketplace, but some examples include Amazon to S3 bucket to host your data. You could use NodeMailer to send emails, and so on. And like I said, we have the Strapi Marketplace, which is awesome because not only can you find additional functionality that Strapi may not have out of the box, but you as a developer could create your own plugin to add some sort of functionality to Strapi and share with the community and have it listed on our marketplace. We also have some excellent features that we will take a look at. We have API token, which allows you to have API tokens that you could set on controller level, which allows you either full access, read-only, or custom. And you also get to define token expiration. What that means, if you have a content type which you want to have certain specific access, you create that token that you pass in your request, and it will only allow the functionality that you specified in the permissions. We also have custom fields. We just released them literally last month. And you're able to add additional fields to your Strapi application. Some of the cool ones we had, you could integrate a Shopify store, which is pretty cool. And currently, we just created these four, because this just recently released, 4 custom fields. We have the color picker. We have CK editor that adds the CK editor as a custom field, which is amazing. We have UID field, Shopify field, and more to come. And again, I want to show this to you here because the coolest thing by belonging to the Strapi community, not only can you use Strapi and use things created by other people, you could actually create and customize Strapi yourself through creating your own custom fields, creating your own plugins. And we'll definitely have a Q&A section that I'd love to answer all your questions. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you save those questions in the comments and we'll get to them. And so here's an example of setting up a custom field. We'll take a look at this later when we get to our demo section. I promise I will be back. And I just want to share our vision for Strapi. So we want to be the most developer-friendly CMS on the market that allows content editors to manage their data easily. And so we want to make sure that we have easy and quick installation, fast content modeling for creating your data. Our Node.js backend framework allows you to add additional functionality because we're using Node. We have flexible API, which you're able to customize very easily. We are deeply integrated with developer workflow. using your favorite Git and file systems. And the most important part, we're agnostic. You decide which database you want to use. Do you want to use REST? Do you want to use GraphQL? Which email provider do you implement? And our goal is to continue to improve the deployment process. So like I said before, we strive to have frictionless deployment. And this is where our cloud Strapi will come in, because for anyone who may not have any experience deploying projects, let's say to Heroku or DigitalOcean, you'll be able to host it on Strapi Cloud. And we have really good documentation, great Discord community where you can ask questions. So let's take a look at some Strapi case studies. So we had Glenn, which grew their organic traffic by 60% after they're building their website with Strapi. And so one of the benefits that they were looking is they wanted to give the power to their editors to easily be able to update their content. For instance, prior to switching to this tech stack of using Gatsby and Strapi, they literally had to have developers to go and change the text in the website. A developer shouldn't have to be fixing spelling mistakes in your content, right? If you have an editor whose responsibility that is, they should handle it. And this is exactly what Strapi allowed them to do. It allowed their content editors to focus on the content while their developers were able to focus on development. And for their particular Strapi tech stack, they hosted their Strapi through Kubernetes. They host their database through Amazon, including Gatsby as well. And what helped them to set up Gatsby and Strapi together, we actually have a Strapi source plugin that integrates Strapi application with Gatsby's GraphQL super easily. And that is pretty cool. And so how did they handle their SEO? And so in Strapi, they were able to create a metadata component where they were able to add their SEO data from their admin panel. So the editor, after they wrote their post or their blog, they were able to also add all the keywords, all the metadata required. And let me go back here, next page here. I thought I had a code example, but I have it in the next one. I'll show you how you would consume it on the front end. And the cool thing is you could either create your own component or you could check out our marketplace to see different plugins that we have available, like an SEO plugin. We actually have 2 on our marketplace. And so case study number 2, 1-1, they delivered the websites 25% faster with Strapi. And this comes to this idea of faster development time. And one of the things that they wanted to focus, I think this is the superpower of Strapi, they want to create a website which gives control of how the content editors are able to lay out their content. And some of the additional features they wanted, WordPress could not provide. And it allowed their clients to modify 99% of the content on their website themselves. So any change that needed to be made with the content, they could do themselves. They don't have to have the developers get involved, which made the development experience much faster, because instead of trying to create the backend themselves, using Strapi saved the development team a lot of time. And it was cost efficient, as Strapi is easier to customize compared to some of our competitors. And so it allows editors to easily configure their content. So here's an example where you could see a section where they have blocks. And we'll take a look at this in more detail, but there's a section component which has a couple of different blocks, timeline, snippet, intersects, vision, image block. And what happens on the back end, they're able to iterate through the data that they get and check for which blocks exist in the content type and display the content accordingly. And I will definitely show you this example in code for those of you who are interested. And the third study, Keepstar, used Strapi to power both their website and their mobile application. And this is another superpower of Strapi, is that you could use one Strapi instance to send your data in an appropriate way to your website, your mobile application, or any other avenue. And what they were looking for, they wanted to find a React-friendly CMS. After checking out a bunch of different options, they decided to go with Strapi. And one of the reasons they went with Strapi is because, number one, we have a huge community on Discord. We have our forum. So they knew that if they would have questions, they would have a community that they could reach out to. They were also wanted to make sure that they could deploy their data locally or use an independent cloud solution due to security criteria. And so the benefits that they really wanted is, number one, is to use a Strapi instance to power both their website and their mobile application, and also to allow their content teams to independently create new pages without getting, again, involving the developer at a job that should be accomplished by an editor. And so I want to share this Strapi example project quickly to kind of see. This is super basic, just for a demo. And this project has been built. The front end is using Next.js with GraphQL, which is hosted on Vercel. The API is using Strapi, PostgreSQL. It is using GraphQL, and it's hosted on DigitalOcean, and it's deployed via GitHub. So anytime I make changes to my code base on GitHub, it will automatically be redeployed to DigitalOcean. And I didn't want to worry about what I'm going to do with my images, so I used Cloudinary to host all my images. And what's cool about this, I'm using a lot of great technologies, but to set this up was fairly quickly. And this is, again, I keep coming back to it, but when I think of Strapi and building things with Strapi, I always think faster to market. And if you look at here, you could see here on the left is my project hosted on Vercel. And the coolest thing here, because I'm using Next.js, you could do static site generation. If, let's say, you just want to display content and you don't want your server to be hit all the time, what you're able to do in Strapi, you're able to create a webhook. So in this case, I created a Vercel build hook. So anytime I update content, it will fire that webhook to tell my front-end application with Next.js hosted on Vercel to rebuild itself. So it only updates my website as I update my content. And then for my backend deployment, I have it hosted on DigitalOcean for both my backend application and my database, which is really convenient for me. And image hosting, like I mentioned, I'm using Cloudinary. And so I really want to show you the power of Strapi is that you're able to bring a lot of your favorite technologies, put them together, and Strapi is the glue that helps you to keep that together. And here's an example I wanted to show you of, I have a blog post where I have my SEO basic information for the page. But if you take a look here at the components, I have little blocks. I have code block, image block, markdown. And what this allows me, it gives me a flexibility to decide which components I want to display on my front end. I might have a page that might have an image markdown, but no code snippets. Or I might have a page that will have all code snippets, but no images. But the content editor gets to decide how they build their layout via these blocks. And then in code, what I'm doing is I have this function, which basically has a switch statement where when I get my components in my request, it'll check, do you have a video component? Do you have a code component, markdown component, photo component? And it will only render those components that exist, which is pretty awesome, which allows you to dynamically create your layout. And if you want to try Strapi, we have Strapi Example Food Advisor, which you could actually, you don't even have to install anything. You could go ahead on our website here, and I'll quickly show it to you here. And you could request a demo. All you need to do is put your first name and last name and your email. And the reason why it does this is because it's going to spin up an deployed instance of Strapi, both for the front end, both for the back end, with an admin user. And you'll be able to play with the Strapi features to test it out yourself without setting anything up on your computer, which is awesome. And so again, just wanted to show you some examples. For instance, you can, in your Strapi application, define an SEO component, right? Which could have, oh, my mouse is moving my screen all over the place, which is going to define your SEO metadata. And then on your front end, you could have a SEO component that is one-to-one related to your content type in your Strapi application. And you're able to insert, I got to learn how to use my mouse. And you can insert all that data into your application from your admin. And again, any questions that you will have, I will be more happy to answer, but I just wanted to give you some quick examples here. And then same thing like I mentioned about handling content, you have this idea of blocks and dynamic zones in your Strapi admin where you could dynamically lay out the content that you want. And in this Food Advisor, similar code example like I showed before, they have this block manager component that they made, basically based on the type of block or component they get from their front end, they will, from their API, from Strapi instance, they will accordingly render the appropriate component on screen, which is awesome because it gives the power to your content editors to decide in what order they present their content. And so we talked about Strapi. I gave you some examples. And so let me take a look at the time. Let's do just a little quick walkthrough before we do, then we'll take a break and then we'll do a quick demo and then we'll do some Q&A. But I wanted to talk about getting started with Strapi. So like I mentioned, you can go and just sign up and try it out without installing something. But you could also get our demo from Strapi Food Advisor, which is basically the same thing that you would see if you try it out from doing a live demo. But the cool thing about pulling the code for Strapi Food Advisor, you could see the code locally. You could see how Strapi works with Next.js. And what's awesome, you could use it as a starting template to see how we do things to start your own project. And so let me showcase the project. I have it running already here locally. Let me actually browser here. So we have our content builder. So this is running that Food Advisor. And as you could see, we take a look at the restaurants. We have our content. We have our components that allows us to kind of, and I'll show you in the front end in just a second, allows to display appropriate components based on what we decide. So for instance, here's the dynamic zone with different blocks. We have rich content, related restaurants, FAQ, CTA, CTA command line. And what you're able to do, for instance, you could decide, it's like, what do you want to add? And based on what you choose here, it will be appropriately displayed on your front end. For instance, let's take a look at the code here. And here we are, too zoomed in. And here's an example where it's kind of showing you here is they have basically a component called Block Manager, which will basically check the request and it will check what type of block are you passing. Are you passing FAQ, a hero section, a CTA, a team, pricing, etc. And it will render the appropriate component in the page. So as you could see, here's the layout for the restaurant page, and they're literally just calling the Block Manager. And what it will do, I have too many screens open. It will basically render the data. And when it comes to the dynamic blocks, it will basically check what blocks are you using in your content type. And if you're using that block, like the frequently asked questions, let me go ahead and render that. And hopefully that makes sense. But I really like this feature a lot. And so let's take a look here. We talked about our Food Advisor application. And then there's a couple of quick things I want to mention before we take a break and do a quick getting started with Strapi. So we have great Strapi developer docs. You could use these whenever you get stuck, you have questions. You could also join our Discord community at Strapi, where you could ask questions as well. We have the forum. And what's awesome, let's say I'm working on my project, and I'm going to quickly show you here. Let me go to our backend here. So this is our Strapi application. And if you look at source, we have different APIs that are created automatically when you create a content type. So when you log into Strapi and you create a content type called article, it will automatically create this folder, and you will have whatever content types you defined from the front end when you build your content type, and it will automatically create our generic controllers that give you, ability to create, find one, find all, delete, and update, which you don't have to create yourself. But here's the cool part. Let's say here I want to add my own custom functionality. I need some additional things to happen. So you're able to go to your documentation, and you could do a quick search for backend customization. If only I could spell. And then, excuse me, we have this backend customization, which basically shows you all the things that you could do. You could customize your routes, your policies, your middleware, your controllers. And so we could take a look here, and here we have example where we could extend our controllers, where we're able to add additional functionality. We could create a completely new controller that we want. We have the ability to take an existing controller and extend it by wrapping the core logic of it, or we could completely replace a controller. So what you would be able to do if you wanted to add additional functionality in your Strapi backend on the controllers, you're able to add a function inside here and add that custom code. And you could do that for services. You could have custom routes. And I love that extensibility that Strapi gives you. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that we do have the Strapi Marketplace, and I don't think I brought it up, so let me quickly search it. Strapi Marketplace. And I know there's like a lot of stuff, but I'm just want to make sure that I share every possible thing I can about Strapi, that you see all the cool things that you have available to you. And so we have our Strapi Marketplace, where you're able to get plugins to extend your Strapi functionality. You could even get providers. For instance, in my application, I'm using Cloud Native Provider to host data. So this is an amazing place. And what's really cool about it is not only you can come here to see if there's a plugin that solves your need, you could also submit your own plugins. So you could create your own plugin that serves or solves a problem that you're having, and you could share with the community. And I love this open source nature of Strapi, because we have opportunity to share things that we learned by building plugins, by building custom fields, and giving back. And what's cool, by the way, if you're going to be building things with Strapi, we make it easier for you by creating a Strapi design system. And so when you are creating additional functionality or adding additional fields to your Strapi application or your plugin, we have our own design system where you're able to see the different components that we have. And let me zoom in a bit. And like, for instance, here's empty state layout, and you have these pre-built React components that you could use that make your development just go way much quicker. So I probably left a lot of stuff out as well, but as you could see, I could talk about Strapi all day long. But what I want to do is let's do a quick break, and then when we come back from the break, we'll do a quick demo and do Q&A.
Well, Paul, thank you very much for your presentation. It was very interesting. I think we should go, to a break.